Why do death harmonies sound the way they do? It really seems to me that in all of Chuck Schuldiner's music, Control Denied included, that there is a very specific way and a very, very unique and distinctive way that he harmonizes his leads and his riffs. And, if you already know what the answer is, you're probably screaming at the top of your lungs, Varvis, just, tell them already. But before we do, here are just a few of my favorite examples of this type of harmony and why I think it sounds so good. So in this video, we'll go through this harmony. I'll show you why it works and why it makes it sound the way it does. And then I'll show you how the same riff harmonized in several different ways can sound so much more different. So without further ado, let's get on with it here. Just remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Liking the video helps out more than you could ever imagine, probably in the eyes of the almighty algorithm. And don't forget, I stream every Friday here on YouTube. So come and hang out. So without further ado, let's get into it here, boys. So yeah, the way he harmonizes his guitars are basically in what is called perfect fifths, right? So when you walk up a scale on your guitar, right, you go up, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Right, the perfect fifth, right? As opposed to, say like Iron Maiden, who would harmonize all their stuff in perfect thirds, right? Right? 1, 2, 3. And so it kind of gives this really sort of weird and very exotic sound to the harmonies here, right? And it's a little bit weird, right? You would think that you could just play these riffs, with power chords and it would sound the same, but I'm no physics nerd, audio engineer, anything like that, so I can't tell you exactly what happens, but there's a big difference between playing, that on your guitar and having one guy play this note and the other guy play that note. I think there must be something to do with how the pickups pick up the sound and how all the vibrations and the air work together, something like that. Anyways, it just doesn't really sound the same, right? Say for instance, if you played the riff from that you heard in the intro, right, in Flesh and the Power It Holds, right? If I just played that one part, it doesn't sound the same as when you play it harmonized together, right? So it's very, very interesting harmony, and you hear it all the time, all over all of Death's music. It was easily like his favorite way to harmonize things. And it makes it pretty easy to harmonize things, right? When you play in thirds, you got to sort of work out, okay, which part is a minor third, which one's a major third. But as if you are just harmonizing in perfect fifths, right? You simply just say, oh, okay, I'll play this. Oh, I'll just play this here, right? It just makes it really simple and easy to harmonize things with. So let's hop over to FL Studio here and let's take a deeper look at these harmonies and why they sound the way they do. I'm doing this on the computer in MIDI guitar. I'm using the program called Shreddage just to be able to show you guys a little bit better the way it looks on like a piano roll and how the notes interact with each other. I know it's hard to kind of see on a guitar fretboard sometimes, especially, I'm not that great of a guitarist, right? So this would just be a much easier and clearer way to show you guys here. So yeah, we're at the computer here. I just made a little riffy poo for you guys, one that's definitely death inspired. This is a riff that's going to be used on one of my upcoming projects, ANNAPURNA, which is coming out soon, so stay tuned for that. But this is a very, very, very death inspired riff. You can almost call it death worshipping riff, which is basically my whole YouTube channel at this point. But yeah. It's very sort of think like symbolic era, sound of perseverance, fragile art of existence, maybe individual thought patterns, sort of a type of death riff. So yeah, here it is. So yeah, just the riff on its own, no drums, anything like that. We're not worrying about anything about that right now. So that is the riff. It is in the scale of D minor natural, right? FL Studio highlights has a very nice feature where you can highlight the scale. So if you look, every single one of these notes that is in a lighter shade of this dark gray, you could say is highlighted as part of the D minor natural scale. Every one of these notes that isn't highlighted is out of the scale. So makes it very easy to see. So that's just the one guitar. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this over to the second rhythm guitar, and then you can hear it here. Okay, so yeah, we want to harmonize this riff. How would Chuck Schuldiner harmonize this riff? Well, it's pretty simple, right? To me, he would take these sort of higher notes, not like the pedal notes at the bottom, and he would simply raise all of these a perfect fifth. So on MIDI guitar, it's really easy. We'll just select all these guitars, all these notes, and then we'll move them up 7 semitones, or you can count on the scale degrees 5 up, right? So we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now this is harmonized in perfect fifths. You can see FL Studio also has these nice ghost notes here, so you can see what the other guitar is playing, right? So now you can see everything is in perfect fifths. Let's see how this sounds. So yeah, right away you can hear it definitely does have a very sort of distinctly like death sound to it, I guess you can say. It sort of sounds sort of exotic. Whenever I listen to a scale that's harmonized in fifths or like a riff, it sort of gives like this really exotic sound to it. I don't exactly know how to describe it, but it sounds sort of exotic, a little bit uncanny, maybe almost like alien-like. It's very, very cool sound, very, very distinctly death. So let's actually look what's happening to the notes when you harmonize in perfect fifths. See, if you look, every single note basically just moves up into the scale, unless you are playing the second degree of the scale. In D minor, that would be E. In minor scales, the second degree, right, same as a major scale on the 7th degree of the scale, is actually a diminished chord, right? So there's actually, in the D minor scale, there's not actually a perfect fifth for the second note, right? For the second, right? If you go right 1, 2, 3 of the scale, the second degree of the scale does not have a perfect fifth. And I think that's what really gives it that sort of very, very exotic sound, is you're briefly going out of the scale, right? You can see on the E notes here, when you go up 7 notes, you go to B, which is not part of the D minor scale. But I mean, like, you can, you know, just nudge these notes. Like, let's say we'll just move them down a little bit, right? Move these down. So now they're just being harmonized in sixth, or like a diminished fifth, right? Let's hear how that sounds. Whoa, very, very different. I don't ever remember hearing that type of sound in death songs, right? So let's move these back to the way they were before. And let's harmonize these in, say, the Iron Maiden scale, the Iron Maiden way, whatever you want to call it, right? In thirds. So in thirds, you have to look, right? Is this third of this note of the scale, is this a major or a minor third? So let's check it out. All right, so I just quickly did that. FL Studio's scale highlighting makes that very, very easy to see. So let's see how this sounds. Yeah, it sounds a lot different. Sounds much more, I don't want to say musical, but it definitely sounds all in key and sounds very strong, and definitely has this much more like epic feeling, much more minor feel to it, right? We're not leaving the scale at all here. Everything is in the D minor scale. Now, Iron Maiden does this a lot, you know, and it's not Iron Maiden, not only Iron Maiden, right? A lot of bands do this type of harmonization as well. Another thing you can do, right, you simply take all these notes and you just go down an octave with them. So now it's basically harmonized in thirds, but lower thirds, like an octave below. And it sounds okay, but a little bit weird. Another thing you could do is harmonize these in sixths, right? So instead of going up 3, you go down 3 in the scale. All right, so yeah, let's see how this one sounds here now, boys. Again, yeah, you hear that type of harmonization quite often as well, right? It's very still in scale, still all part of that. Another very, very interesting sounding harmonization as well, but it's definitely not as exotic sounding or as sort of alien or a little bit distant. You know what I mean? Like that's what the death like harmonization really does. Okay, so let's go back and we'll go back to fifths now. So you heard all those in thirds and in sixths. So here it is back in fifths. And I mean, it sounds pretty good. Sounds cool to me. But another thing that he does is he harmonizes in fifths, but plays the fifths an octave lower. So essentially, it's like moving down a perfect fourth and then harmonizing, right? Because if you go on a guitar, right, you know, your root notes here, fifth is up there, and then the octave of the fifth is down the next string in the fourth, right? So let's see how that sounds. Interesting. That one sounds good, almost just as good, except for like some notes here. And very interestingly, right, harmonizing in fifths, but an octave lower. So in fourths, I guess, basically lower fourths, you have this little chromatic movement here just because of the notes leaving the scale. Very, very cool. But okay, what if we just go harmonize into a higher fourths and then you put it lower, right? He also does this as well sometimes on runs and scales like that. I think one of the ones that he does it is on the Crystal Mountain. You know, the... I think that's what that is. So again, we'll go up to fourths this time. Let's see how this sounds. So this is harmonized in perfect fourths. That one sounds very, very death-like as well, right? Especially as we got the harmonized on the A sharp notes, right? We go right up to this D sharp, right? So that's giving a little bit of a Phrygian feel in this one as well. So let's take all these and go down an octave with them. Again, that sounds very, very death-like, right? That sounds like like a death song would be harmonized in that way. And so it's a very, very cool idea just to try out in your own songs and your own writing. Just try out all these different harmonies. You don't always have to harmonize them in perfect thirds or perfect fifths. Perfect thirds is no such thing. In a minor or major thirds or perfect fifths, right? If you look at a lot of death songs, some of them are harmonized in these perfect fifths, some of them are harmonized in perfect fourths, played lower. So it really gives a very, very cool and interesting sound to the harmonies that you're trying to play. It gives it very exotic sounding notes, especially if you're playing everything, you know, diatonically in D minor or something like that, right? It'll sort of give you these extra little flavor notes outside the key, right? Which I always find is very, very interesting. It gives that extra sort of pizzazz and noteworthiness, I guess you could say, like to the songs. So yeah, that's what I just wanted to talk about here today. So that is the death harmony, right? Perfect fifths, perfect fourths. It's just what Chuck likes to do, and you hear it all the time, all the time. I've put in little clips all through this video of it. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, to you guys. That's just something I wanted to do. If you want to see more videos like this going sort of in depth and more on the death harmonies, stuff like that, I've been Varvis. Cheers.